Hello, and welcome back to Light Sprinkles. I'm Spring Ulrich, your host. I am wanting to discuss all things death related, and I'm not just talking about death of someone that you love, but I'm talking about when something big happens in your life that is contributing to the death of your dreams, death of your hope, death of your motivation. So, yes, I am also speaking really about how to overcome those times and spaces when perhaps you have experienced a lack of your vision or a lack of your hope, or feeling like your dreams have just been shattered for whatever reason. And with myself, of course, if you've been following me, you know that I had my experience being a widow, and I did get to experience huge loss, not only in the loss of my love and my son's father, but also the death of my hopes for our future together, the death of my dreams, the death of who I was. My identity completely shifted, and it was really wrapped up in being a couple with him and who we were together. And it's not that I couldn't be strong and a powerful person on my own. And he was a huge part of how I built my life. So I really would like to discuss with you some of those feelings, some of those experiences, and also ways to overcome, and tools and tips to be able to move forward in the times when maybe you're experiencing some of that loss, and how to get reconnected and build upon and use that piece to be able to move forward and to grow something new, to grow something, to maybe even take one of those dreams off the shelf. Say you feel like you've had a setback because perhaps you have, had an unexpected birth or pregnancy, and you've set aside some of the experiences that you've had with to be able to parent really powerfully. And so perhaps you took a dream and put it on the shelf for a while, or, said that I'm going to take this experience and I'm going to run with it. And maybe someday I'll get back to that dream, or someday maybe I'll get to that. Or maybe just getting that feeling of that maybe I'm not good enough, or I'll never be good enough to make that dream happen, or feeling inadequate to be able to fulfill that dream. So I'd really like to be able to assist you in some ideas and tools to be able to spring you forward if you've experienced something like that, or if you're experiencing something like that right now. So first of all, I want to just share with you and talk about the emotion of overwhelm. That is a big one. I feel like for so many people, myself included, I still deal with overwhelm. Being a mama of 3 and being a homeschool parent, I deal with overwhelm a lot because I have a list I do every day. I make a list, I do my top priority, draw a line, and then I make my list underneath that. And so often I don't get to everything on my list because there's unexpected things. I mean, that's life. Things come up, and sometimes they end up, completely taking my day sideways because unexpected things happen, bumps or bruises, or, an unexpected delay with the children's homeschool, or you can't get the computer somehow to work, or something to be printed, or somehow the entire thing is now communicating with the printer, and you need to print something out, or you need to get something to a teacher, or you forgot about a meeting, whatever that is. Or the dishes are stacking up, the laundry is going, and there's so many things. Being a mom, trying to run the entire household, trying to keep up with the bathrooms and the floors and the yard work and the weeds and the gardening and the animals, and wanting to reach out and serve other people and to serve your friends or family and stay connected. And, the list goes on and on and on. So how to be able to do that day in a really beautiful, connected, graceful way. How do I do my time in a way that I feel like I'm still honoring myself and still honoring my list. I'm still moving forward. And I'm also really giving myself breaks, giving myself time to breathe, time to rest. And also, really big key factor, time to celebrate the wins of my day. And that's what I'm currently working on myself right now, being really a lot more conscious on giving myself a pass, giving myself the ability to absolutely say, hey, you know what? I have done a lot in this moment. I have completed so many things in this last few minutes. Or hours, or whatever it is for that morning, being able to say, I have completed, I've checked off this, I've checked off this, I've checked off this, and really checking in with my body and saying, okay, is it time for a rest? Is it time for a break? Do I need to go sit in the hammock and read with my daughter, or just take a break for a minute, have a cup of tea, or just take a breath, just to be able to sit back and just breathe for a minute. And I'm finding that being conscious of that and really wanting to give myself more of that is really a powerful tip and tool that I would encourage you to give yourself in your life as well. My husband was so sweet. I'm working on these videos in my YouTube creation, and he got out the phone and he pulled it out and did this real and raw videoing of me. And in that, he asked me about breaks, and it was really powerful because I discovered in that conversation that was real and raw that I'm not really scheduling the breaks. So he asked me, well, do you schedule a break? And I really have been, for a long time, I have bucked a schedule, even if it's good for me, because I don't like having to be boxed in. And so I was realizing that looking at it in a little bit of a different way of reminding myself, even if I need to put it on my phone, to ding and say, hey, take a break. It's rest time. Or remind myself that after everything I check off, when I go check that off, that I can give myself permission to go and actually consciously take a 5 or 10 minute break. Whatever I've got time for to put into it, just to, and actually celebrate, like do a little dance, get a little shimmy in and actually celebrate, like physically put it into your body and recognize, hey, I won that. I checked that off. I did that little move. I did the dishes. Yay! And celebrate that, because I feel like so often as parents and moms, no one else is doing that celebrating. Sometimes, we get, oh, really great thank you from the children, or from your spouse, or, someone might even recognize, hey, your yard looks great, or, your house looks wonderful. But for the most part, it gets to be recognized and acknowledged for yourself that, hey, I've done a good job. Especially if you're a stay-at-home mom and you're not getting a paycheck and you're not getting affirmation from anything outside of the home that says, hey, I'm validated, I matter, and what I'm doing is really important. So I feel like that is a really key piece to be able to move forward powerfully and have just acknowledgement and celebrating yourself and loving yourself more. So try that on. See if that assists you in your overwhelm, to just schedule more breaks. Give yourself more break time and time to be able to give yourself that little bit of breathing room. So, overwhelm for sure. How have you been dealing with your overwhelm? Maybe even write a little note to yourself, or maybe journal on it. Like, what do you do when you go into overwhelm? Do you go into the cupboard and eat? Do you end up going into some other vice or addiction? Do you get onto your phone and just mindlessly scroll? What is it that you do when you feel really overwhelmed? Do you go into freeze mode and do nothing and get really paralyzed? Or do you procrastinate? What are the things that you do? What are the go-tos in your day that take that overwhelm and then amplify it? Because I feel sometimes in my own life, I've sometimes gotten to the point where I'm so overwhelmed, I don't feel like I can do anything, or I get, feeling like I'm spinning in a circle and going, oh, I've got this list. I'm feeling so overwhelmed. I don't know where to start. I don't know where to begin. So my husband has a really great thing he always says to me. He says, the hardest part is getting your hand on the doorknob, whether it's to get to the gym or to get to the next thing that you don't really want to do, whether it's that pile of paperwork or, making that really hard phone call, whatever it is that you've been putting off and procrastinating on. The hardest part is just getting your handle on the doorknob. And that's what he's always reminding me, that's the hardest part, is just getting your hand on the doorknob and just going for it. Just getting started can be the hardest part, because once you get started, you get the momentum and you're there. You've opened the door, you're walking out, you got your keys in the hand, and you're going. You're on your way to your vehicle, or you're on your bike, or however you get to that gym, that you're actually getting there. So sometimes the getting there is the hardest part, harder than the actual doing of the task, but the stress that it builds up when you're in the procrastination mode and thinking about it, or it's nagging you saying, hey, you've got this thing in the background that gets to be taken care of, can be so energy draining, rather than just saying, okay, I'm going to take care of it and I'm going to do it now. So perhaps giving yourself more break time, giving yourself more grace and gratitude and celebration on the things that you have done, and releasing the pressure valve on the shoulds, the things I should be doing, and changing that should to a could. If you take that should and turn it into a could, I could be doing this right now, but what am I choosing? Remembering that you're at choice. I could be doing those dishes right now, or cleaning that kitchen that needs to be done, but I'm choosing right now to take a break. Or I could be doing that, and right now I'm choosing to sit down and read to my child. Or I could be paying that bill, and right now this is prioritized over that, and I will get to that at this point. So being able to shift the conversation from I should be doing this to I could be doing that, and I'm going to choose this, and this is when I'm going to handle that. So maybe just adjusting the schedule a little bit and the expectation might help to ease and relieve some of that overwhelm that can feel so debilitating, and that leads to the procrastination or the item just not getting taken care of. So maybe that will assist you in giving you some way to be able to take that dial and turn that level of overwhelm down, and to be able to just sit back and breathe and say, okay, what can I do right now? What could I be doing, rather than what you should be doing? So I feel like that's assisted me in my life and being able to really move forward in a more powerful way. The other thing I'd like to talk about is lack of focus. So we talked about overwhelm. I want to talk about lack of focus, because I feel like, especially when you are grieving, that is huge, huge, huge. And I feel like a lot of times in life in general, without a clear path, without a clear purpose, or without a clear plan, it can be really, really easy to get distracted. And it can also be really challenging to stay and maintain focus, especially when, as a mom, as all you mamas know, it's this balancing act and feeling like you're juggling all kinds of plates all at the same time. And that can be a challenge to have focus, laser focus on one thing, and be able to powerfully move forward in that one direction, because the attention can feel so divided. So I feel like the tools to be able to maintain that focus and to gain that focus can be very powerful and help assist and alleviate the overwhelm as well. So some of the things that I do to maintain my focus and to maintain my clarity, and especially when I was going through grief, especially the first year, I mean, it's just real. Let's just break it down and be real, that especially if you're experiencing grief of any kind, whether it's a loss through death, losing a job, divorce, whatever that grief is, whatever you are grieving in the moment, it is really challenging to focus, because it's physically and mentally exhausting. And if you're in shock, if you're going through some of those experiences, shock actually does affect the brain. They call it grief brain, and it's a real thing. I experienced it myself. After my late husband passed, I could not keep an appointment unless I had it on my phone and it would actually buzz and remind me if I had made that appointment that very morning, that same day. Like I would make an appointment. I used to be really amazing at just remembering dates, all kinds of dates. My late husband and I, we used to totally celebrate dates. We had so many dates. We had the when we met date, when he proposed to me date, we had our anniversary. We had all these different anniversaries that I remembered really well, and we would celebrate pretty much monthly. And it was anytime we had a reason to celebrate, it was like, let's celebrate. Here's this date. Do you remember this date? And after he passed, it really shifted for me and my brain's capability and ability to just maintain an appointment that I'd made that very morning. If I would get completely distracted and get into whatever it was I was doing in that day, and I literally could not remember the appointment. I would blow things off and be completely like, oh my gosh, I totally didn't remember. I'd get a phone call from someone and I had blown off the appointment, and it would be very important appointments, and it would make me feel really, really bad about myself, and I would feel really guilty about it if I had forgotten to put it in my phone. And I thought, I made the appointment that day. In the beginning, I didn't realize that I wasn't going to be able to remember that appointment. So, of course, I felt that I could remember it if I had made it that day. But I found that if I didn't put it in my phone, I was so easily distracted, and I had so many emotions going on, and I was completely overwhelmed, which did not help at all. And so if I had that experience of having missed an appointment, then I would have people upset with me. I would feel super guilty, and they were serious appointments that really couldn't be missed. For example, I had my nephew that I still feel really sad about, that I left him at school. I was like, hey, I can pick him up. I can take care of it. I can pick him up. And I could not remember the appointment, or I had forgotten the appointment. And then I realized I got to really give myself a pass, and I felt really bad because he was a young child at the school and had been left there, and realized, oh my gosh, I totally had spaced it off. So there were several times I had missed appointments and had actual damaged relationships through the missed appointments because I really could not keep them. And I just want to give you that gift of being able to really recognize that it's a real thing when you're going through grief, the grief brain, and to be reminding yourself to put the appointment in, like put it into your calendar, in your phone, actually have a timer, like a buzz, something that will actually sound and remind you like an hour before the appointment, or whatever time you need to be able to get to that appointment on time, or to be able to do that thing, to actually put it into your phone and have it remind you. Because my experience was that I could not remember or recall appointments. Now, it got better over time, and my memory has gotten better over time, but there are things that were fuzzy or difficult to remember when I was going through that grief experience, and especially even during the time that my late husband was diagnosed with melanoma. During that time, and between the time he was diagnosed and the time that he had passed, that time was very traumatic as well, and I had a really hard time keeping appointments or remembering things, and some things got a little bit fuzzy as far as the memory storage capacity and what I did remember and how clearly I remembered things. And I feel like I had a pretty good retention and recall of that, but dates and appointments, that was definitely one of the things that was challenging. So that comes back into focus. The lack of focus when you're going through grief can be huge. So remembering to just right when you get the appointment in, put it into your phone, put it into some kind of a planner where you look at consistently if you're not a phone person, or into your, most people have a cell phone, to be able to put that into their calendar and put the reminders in. And I usually give myself I'll usually do a day before, and then I do also an hour before the appointment. Or, if it was that day, I might do it an hour before the appointment and then 30 minutes before. So you'll figure out whatever time frame suits you best in making sure that you get to that appointment. So setting a timer, putting into your calendar will assist you in getting that focus and maintaining that focus. And as you get further along and get better at being able to have more memory capacity, if you've experienced grief on such a deep level as I have, then I'd like to talk about the focus that if you haven't gone through, shock or grief to that capacity. Just the focus in general, like how distractible all sorts of things are for our time, for our energy, from whether it's, mindlessly scrolling on your Facebook or all of the emails that come up and are pulling for attention. There's so many demands upon our time that it can be really challenging to prioritize and to get clear on our purpose, our path, our passions, and also getting clear on what's the highest priority of my day. What is the one task I need to do in that day? And getting clear on that. And to get clear on that, I highly recommend spending some time just sitting down, writing down what your priorities are. Like, what's the top priority? What's the thing on your heart that is the most important thing for you to do in that day? Is it to just sit and nurse your baby? Because that's where you're at right now and that's completely okay. Or is it that you have a book inside that you need to write and that you want to get out into the world? Is it that you have some painting that you want to do that you haven't pulled out paints for a long time? What is it that you have on your heart that you would like to really give some prioritized attention to? Is it getting cleaned up and getting the closets clear? What is it that has been on your heart that you want to really give some focused attention and time to? Giving yourself the ability, giving yourself the time to really sit down and journal what's on your heart. Journal what is coming up for you that you really feel is a priority that maybe you haven't been able to prioritize. Or in your day, write down what it is that you really need to focus on or want to focus on or get to focus on that day. That's super important and that will make the biggest impact out of all of the things, especially if you're in overwhelm and you've got a list a mile long. How do you take and look at that list in a way that makes sense and that it will serve you in your best and highest good? Going through and writing down numbers for each of those things that you've written down on your list and saying, okay, what are the top 3 things? The most important things. And I encourage you to get it down to what is the number 1 most important thing for me to do today to feel like that I'm okay, that I've succeeded in my day and I've moved the needle forward toward my highest priority. Get that number 1, write it on the top of your list, and then put a line down underneath it. I listened to a fabulous, inspiring episode from Mel Robbins, and she recommended doing this, and I've been implementing this into my own life, and it's been very helpful in getting me to where I want to be. And so she recommended to write down first thing in the morning, get clear on your priorities, and during your morning time in your routine, just write down what it is that your top priority is. Write that one thing down on the list and then put a big fat line across it. And she recommended not having a list, that most successful people don't do lists, like to-do lists. But if you need to do that mind dump and just get the information of the stuff that you need to do in your day, do that after you've written your first top priority, your number 1 thing. And that can assist you in really being more clear in your day and also prioritizing what it is that you need to do and making sure that you get that in, and instead of having that feeling, several days go by and you still haven't gotten to that one really important thing. So that might assist you in getting more clarity and more focus, sitting down and taking some journaling time, getting clear on what area or what things you really want to be on your list and your priority. And also, if you're making to-do lists, to get that top priority, write it down, do a big bold line underneath, and then go ahead and write the rest of your to-dos or your tasks that really need to be taken care of, whether it's, this is my grocery list, or I need to make sure to, call back so-and-so or pay this bill, or whatever it is that you're putting down on your list. I need to take the child to the dentist. Whatever you are putting down on your list, make sure that the number 1 thing is the top priority for that day. And I really encourage it to be something that is to grow yourself in the direction of your dream, or the thing that is the most important for you in that moment. So if it is something toward you're wanting to work on being the best mom you can be, then steps to be able to do that. Or if you're looking at wanting to write that book, however much time you feel like you can give it in a day, write 5 minutes a day. today I'm going to write for 5 minutes on my book. Or if you're wanting to work on your health and your wellness, that you're saying, you know what, I'm going to make myself a priority now, and I am going to make sure that I get my body movement in no matter what. And I'm going to give myself, start small, 5 minutes. 5 minutes, I'm going to do 5 minutes of getting my heart rate up. And I'm going to do it in a pleasurable way, whether it's through fun dance, or you're going to chase your children around the yard, or you're going to go skiing or hike a mountain, whatever it is that you are able to get into your time and fit into your schedule. To start small, and then you can increase from there. That can assist you in getting success towards your goal, and also getting more clarity on what it is that you're doing with your time and how you're spending your time. So I hope that assists you in your combating the lack of focus feeling. So we've talked about the overwhelm, the lack of focus, and I'd like to also talk to you about the dreams, feeling like your dreams have been crushed. That is a big one, and has been a really, really big one for me. I have struggled with this one probably the most out of all of them. Well, I'm not sure the most, but it's been a pretty big one. It's been one that's continuously been kind of in the background, just kind of running around in my mind and on my heart, as far as my dreams and my visions and my purpose. So after my late husband passed, before he passed, I was, gung-ho. Had all these great big dreams and visions of how I was going to be this foremost lead photographer and be super successful. And really, I had big dreams, big, hairy, audacious dreams with it. And after he passed, everything stopped. My entire world came to a halt, and I was in grief mode. And I allowed myself, and I would even get to tell myself, I'm in grief mode. Like, it's okay to push pause right now. It's okay to pause what I'm doing and not just continue to strive and achieve and continue to go for that. Right now, what I get to do is just really be where I'm at and grieve and be where I want to be, which was with my son, and enjoy him and really fully be the powerful parent that I really wanted to be, and enjoy being with him. After losing my late husband, I was even more clear on how precious life is and how precious each moment with the people that you love are. And so I really said, you know what? My child is my number one priority over anything else. Like, this is my most important position and most important role, is to be a powerful parent to him. And so I gave that my everything. And that was my number one thing to do. So I do not regret that. And with that said, and I've loved every minute of it, and with that said, there was still this piece of me, even though I consciously said, I'm putting that on the shelf right now. I am pushing pause. I'm allowing myself to say, I'm not doing that right now professionally. I'm not doing my photography passion and my dream professionally. I am parenting powerfully. I'm homeschooling my children, and I'm doing that full time, and I am going full board into giving them my all and really powerfully propelling them into amazing, wonderful experiences, and just being their guide and their, we have had such an amazing experience in our homeschool experience, being able to learn from them. I'm learning right alongside them and watching them grow and bloom, and it has been so fulfilling. And there's still been this piece, even if it's just a little buzz in the background, that has been the question of, am I not doing enough? Am I holding back my greatness? Am I not sharing with the world what I need to share and what my creative skill can offer? There's been that little piece of saying, am I not doing what I really need to be doing with that skill and with that gift that I've been given to be able to powerfully create in photography and to fulfill that dream on my heart that was there before children, before I've had children. And then I remember and remind myself that no, really, my number one thing I ever wanted to be was a mama. And that was really, truly the first thing I ever wanted to be. I remember in 4th grade, when people would say, what do you want to be? And I'd say, I want to be a mom. And that was the number one thing that I wanted to be. So settling into that and reminding myself that that absolutely was one of my dreams and I'm living it and I'm getting to live it, and that there's still time if I'm called to do that, to pull that off the shelf and to utilize that. And when I say pull that off the shelf, I'm still photographing, I'm still using my cameras, I'm still doing that, but not necessarily in a professional way. I do it for friends or family or myself, and mostly with my my camera in my phone, honestly, because with 3 kids and having things to carry around all the time, simply it's easier and it can really provide amazing, fun, creative outlet and beautiful photos in my pocket, in my purse, and it's not this giant monster to carry around with a huge lens. Now, does it have the same tools and capacity? Not necessarily, but I'll tell you, it's certainly a lot easier to just upload and share and enjoy capturing those beautiful moments that I don't want to miss of my children and in my life. So yeah, lack of the feeling, the crushings of your dreams, or the feeling like that you may have had your dreams die with the person that you have been with. I feel like that is, for me, that has been a huge piece, because I felt like there was part of me that did kind of let a little bit of that go, and simply because it was triggered in the event of his death. And so truly that's when my life shifted so completely and hugely that it shifted my business, it shifted the trajectory of where I was going and what I was doing. And while that's okay too, there was still that piece of feeling that my dreams had been crushed, or that feeling of, do I dare to dream? That's been a big one as well, is I didn't get what I wanted, my dream of my husband being healed, and my dreams that I had been writing and visualizing and being very intentional about creating in my life. I didn't get what I wanted with his healing. So there was that fear of, if I write these big audacious dreams, I might not get them. They might not come true. And I might have something huge that's so super important to me, like a loved one ripped away again. So there was fear around that as well. And my late husband was a complete advocate and my biggest fan and cheerleader in my photography, and really supported me hugely in that passion and my love for that. So with him passing and just all of the compounding effects, it really did feel like that part, while I chose to and I allowed that to be put onto a shelf, there was still that piece that felt, have I given up on my dream? Have I given up on myself? So what have I done to combat that? Right? How do you step back and look at it with a different perspective and be okay and be all right with where you're at? And I feel like that the first step and the first key for me was acknowledging that I was feeling that way, acknowledging that I have felt that maybe I gave up on myself or gave up on my dream, or maybe I wasn't feeling powerful enough to stick with it, or stick-to-itiveness, whatever it is. And then recognizing and acknowledging, no, I'm in a different phase and stage in my life, and being able to let go of what was in order to have really powerfully the joy and the love and the experience that's happening now, which is so juicy and wonderful with my children, and being able to mom and be creative with them and do art projects with them and really dive deep into their learning experience and their growth and blossoming. So being able to acknowledge the powerful present mother that I've been and that I am choosing to be, and that's such a huge and important role, and being okay with that. At any moment I can pick that up if I want to. I could be doing this, but I'm choosing to do this. And so reframing it and looking at it into that way may assist you. And there's also looking at the fears. What if I did pick that up? What if I did take the time? How would I manage? If I was to pick up and do that piece or that dream that I put on a shelf, how would I find time in the day to do it? Or would I be good enough? Would I be stealing time from my family in order to do that? Does that make sense? That there's some time that picking up some of our dreams would have to shift some other things in our life. So just looking at some of those fears of why you've put something on a shelf, recognizing and taking some time to really look inward and say, okay, why did I put that on a shelf, and what is it that I'm still being called to move forward on, and what might be my new passion. If I've shelved something, what might be my new passion? So I'd love to share with you here that that's something that has shifted for me. I've been excited and led by my heart to do this experience with you, this YouTube, this podcast experience, where I am sharing what I've been through and how I've learned and the tools I've utilized to grow. Excuse me. Water time. Speaking of breaks, I'm going to let myself have one right now. So join me and grab your drink of water so that you too can hydrate. Taking a break. Absolutely. Reminding myself to take more breaks. So I'm glad that I'm taking a break with you now, because it's a great reminder for myself to allow myself those breaks and to give myself the grace that my body might be calling for, or that my mind might be calling for, to get more clarity and to get more in tune and more in alignment with what I really need to be doing in that moment or for myself. So to be able to look at your dreams that maybe have felt like you've put on a shelf, or that have felt like have been crushed or just shattered. Getting clarity, that's number one. Working through and looking at the overwhelm, absolutely, that'll assist. And getting tools that will assist you in having more focus can also assist you in feeling like that you're capable or able to propel yourself forward toward that dream, if that's something that you're feeling ready to do and that you want to take off the shelf and dust off and give a little bit of a playtime to. So yeah, well, those are some things that I feel like if you take into your life and give them a try and see how they feel, just might serve you in a powerful way. The other thing I wanted to be able to share with you is the feeling, especially when you're going through grief, the lack of care. That was a pretty big one for me. It's just feeling like, well, I just don't care about this right now. I don't care about it. And that can be coupled in several different ways and intertwined with several different emotions, since, grief can be all over the place, and it can go up, it can go down. So with grief being so messy and so turbulent in the emotional arena, the lack of care can come up in a pretty significant way, as far as caring about striving, success, moving forward. And that's an okay thing to feel and experience as well, to just allow yourself the time and just allow yourself to be there and acknowledge that, yeah, right now I don't care. And that's okay. And that can be coupled with anger. That can be coupled with so many different reasons, from blame and denial, whatever it is that's creating that feeling of the lack of care and the lack of motivation to get things done, to move forward, or to progress. And especially when grieving, sometimes all you can do is just get out of bed. Maybe take a shower. There are certain times in your life where it's really okay to just cocoon and be in the okayness that you're not okay, and that you are not caring so much about the things you used to care about, and just trusting where you're at and allowing that and giving yourself that time and space so that you don't fight it as much and struggle with that and make it even more difficult to move through that emotion or move through that experience so that you don't get stuck there for as long or beat yourself up for feeling those feelings. So I hope that assists you as well, to just give yourself more grace and latitude and care, to not use that for one more reason to beat yourself up if that's something that you experience. And I hope that you're not. And what I know is that that's been one of my challenges, is to be less critical and way more loving myself. That's been a journey that I've been on for a while, is loving on myself more, giving myself more grace and care and forgiveness and acceptance. So I will do my utmost best to share as many tips and tools in that arena as I can as well for you, what I've learned on what is working for increasing my self-love, increasing my confidence and my motivation and my energy levels, all the things that I'm doing that assist me in boosting my vibrations, and all the things that assist me in moving through my day in a more peaceful, loving, and connected way. I am happy to share as many tools as I can with you in that regard. And that leads me to the feeling of defeat. That's a big one in grief, and that's a big one that I feel that in so many areas in life you can feel really defeated. Whether it's from getting a bad grade or report card, or loss of a loved one, loss of a job, or not meeting the goals in your bank account that you were striving for, not meeting your goals in your weight on the scale. I mean, there's so many things in life that can allow us to feel defeated or feel that we have failed in some way. And really, there is no failure unless you see it as such. Because really, when we fail, it's the best time and the most potential for growth within that failure. So if you look at it that if you fall down, the only place to go is up. And that in that falling down, there can be a great time to be able to recoup and regroup and grow into something even more beautiful and more amazing. So if we can just reframe that and look at it in a little different way, that can assist you in those feelings of defeat or those feelings of failure. Because really and truly, you are not a failure. The only failure that there is in just accepting that and staying there, that I'm a failure and I'm defeated. If you want to move past that, and if you want to move forward, then looking at that failure or that defeat that you're in a really dark and deep place, to look at that as, okay, I'm at the bottom of the barrel, perhaps. And now what? The only thing is up from the bottom of the barrel, right? To build on top of that. To be able to look up and say, where's the next best thing? What's the next best thing that I can reach for? So perhaps that'll assist you in the area of feeling defeated if you have experienced that. And especially with grief or the loss of a loved one, when you are feeling that defeat, and I felt it real and heavy when I did not get what I wanted, which was my husband to live, to heal, and to continue to be with me, and to watch our son grow. And I didn't get what I wanted. So that felt very defeating. I didn't get my plan. I didn't get to have the thing that I wanted most, which was for him to heal and to be alive and to be with me and my son and to continue our love-filled, amazing, magical journey together. That was defeating. That felt like a huge punch in the gut, and even more. And yet I still continued to look for the gift and look for, now what? There's got to be something better, because I don't understand why this has happened. I don't understand why this big, huge complete curveball has hit me, and hit me so hard in such a massive way. And now what am I going to do with that? How am I going to bridge the gap between where I am and where I want to be when what I really wanted I didn't get? So I really understand that feeling of defeat and how devastating and how hopeless it can feel. And my advice and my tools that I used for getting myself out of that hopelessness and getting myself out of that feeling of complete and utter derailment and complete loss was to accept that's what I was feeling and move through it and feel it and to cry and to allow myself the space to do so, and to also be looking for the gifts of whatever was contained in the lesson, in the learning, in the beauty around me. If it was just, I get to enjoy the blue sky day, or you know what, I get to feel the rain on my face, I get to feel the rain on my hands, whatever it was, that I got to watch another sunflower bloom because my husband didn't get to do that. I was blessed enough to be able to still be alive and witness the growth of my son. And that I'm the one who gets to watch him grow and be there to hug him and to tuck him in at night. And what a gift is that? Like, that's not lost on me. That I really get to be the one to watch him grow and to be at every birthday and to be the one to give him the gifts and watch him blow out the candles. That assisted me in reminding me that I'm not defeated, but I'm blessed. And even if my late husband, is there in spirit, that he gets to watch in spirit, and I truly believe that he does, it's not the same. He doesn't get to experience my son's touch and look into his eyes and have him acknowledge that and to hear his voice and for him to be able to be there to teach him. Those are huge, devastating emotions. And so I really get that. And also that I get to be the one to be able to hold his hand and be able to receive his sweet character and to be able to witness every wonderful thing that he undertakes, and to be able to hear him play the piano, or to be able to see him do his yo-yoing or whatever it is that he's being brilliant at. I get to be there to witness that. And I just get to remind myself that that is such a gift and a blessing. So I encourage you in your life, with whatever it is that you have felt so defeated, that you just look for the gifts in this life, and that they're there if you look for them. If you're brave enough to just, and open enough to just look around you, there's gifts even in the darkest and the most difficult of your days. So I'd like to encourage you toward that. Encourage you toward continuing the journey of looking for the gifts, and to getting that clarity, getting that focus, assisting you in tips and tools to be able to be your best and highest self, even among the devastation, the feelings of being devastated, or the setbacks that you may have experienced. I'd like to be here to assist you and support you through my stories, through my tips and tools, things that have worked for me over the last 12 years, over the last 10 years that I've gone through being a widow. I really truly feel that I was widowed, but I'm no longer a widow. I didn't get stuck in that. And not just because I'm remarried to an amazing man and I have 3 beautiful children that light my world, but because I chose every day to not let anything steal my joy. So I'd like to close it up today with that, to encourage you to let nothing steal your joy. And I have an amazing, wonderful poem to share with you that I will share with you on our next call and experience and video that I will bring to the table and to share with you. It is an incredible and a powerful piece of writing that I have used since my late husband passed, and it is by Donna Fargo, and it is basically let nothing steal your joy is the bottom line of that. And it is an incredible piece that has inspired me to live in that absolute power and choice to choose happy, to choose joy every day, no matter what the experience is, no matter what is going on. So I'll share that with you. I'll read that and share that with you on the next episode. Or maybe I'll go get it right now. I wanted to share this with you. I went and grabbed my amazing poem off of my wall that I have with my late husband's memorial. So I have this amazing memorial piece that I put together when my late husband passed. I had a friend assist me in the design, but I took my photographic, beautiful photos that I had of him and I and my son, and I put it together on his celebration of life piece that was also put together and put up to invite people to his end of life celebration. And in that, it says Daryl, and it says his name and his birth and his death. And it also says, Daryl was a beautiful man who loved unconditionally and lived his life out loud. And I would love to read to you this that I've framed and put on my wall with the photos of him and his birth date, his death date, and I just feel like this sums up what I've used to really propel me forward and to be kind of my motto, my mantra, to support me through my entire experience through the loss of my husband. So here it is, and this is by Donna Fargo. It's refuse to let anything steal your joy. Choose to be well in every way. Choose to be happy, no matter what. Decide that each day will be good just because you're alive. You have the power over your thoughts and feelings. Don't let your circumstances dictate how you feel. Don't let your thoughts and feelings color your situation blue or desperate. Even if you don't have everything you want, even if you're in pain or in need, you can choose to be joyful no matter what you're experiencing. You are more than your body, your physical presence, and your material possessions. You are spirit. You have your mind, heart, and soul, and there is always something to be thankful for. Decide that life is good and you are special. Decide to enjoy today. Decide that you will live life to the fullest no matter what. Trust that you will change what needs changing, but also decide that you're not going to put off enjoying life just because you don't have everything you want now. I'll read that again. Trust that you will change what needs changing, but also decide that you're not going to put off enjoying life just because you don't have everything you want now. Steadfastly refuse to let anything steal your joy. Choose to be happy, and you will be. Donna Fargo. And I was so inspired by that piece and loved it so much and felt like it was such an amazing piece of writing and tool to assist me in remembering to let nothing steal my joy. That's been the mantra that I've lived by, and I've framed it, put it on my wall, had it on my refrigerator, whatever I could do to just remind me daily. And that is, I feel it is so powerful. It's such a powerful piece to refuse to let anything steal your joy. Just refuse to let anything steal your joy. And that's so huge, especially when you feel defeated, especially when you feel all of the feels that come with grief. especially when you feel all of the feels that come with grief and that you have lost so big with death or with grief and loss, major loss, that I really would encourage you to take that on if it feels right for you. That mantra of let nothing steal your joy. And refuse to let anything steal your joy. So with that, I want to thank you for joining me for another episode today, and I want to thank you for your time and your presence and your listening and your attention, and I hope that this has served you in a powerful way and that you can come away with some nuggets and some tips and tools for your healing journey and to move forward more powerfully in your life. Thank you again for tuning in, and if you have found value in this, please share it, please like it, please subscribe, and I look forward to our next session. You can find me at Light Sprinkles on YouTube and Light Sprinkles on podcast. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope to be able to share with you more tips and tools on our next episode. Thanks again. Bye for now. Love and light.